Thank you so much. We are back again, Rahila. And now, as I was saying just a minute ago, the the term poverty, as I believe today, yes, there's people who are poor, but I've always believed that each and every one of us can get themselves out of poverty. It does not need someone to come from somewhere else to get you out of poverty. Sometimes we are in a very, very depreciating situations, and you look around, surely you see nothing coming forth out of it, and you put yourself down. But in as long as you are made complete, you can always do something to get yourself out of poverty, Rahila. And that is the ripples of loving self. First of all, find love for yourself. Love yourself the way you are created. Accept that you are made complete. Accept that God created you to create a difference. The more we see ourselves as people who are made to create a difference in the world, the poverty runs away. But if we see ourselves as people who were created to seek guidance, seek opportunities from other people and not ourselves, from our own beliefs and the knowledge that we get, the little knowledge that we get from other people and also from self. Because you can train yourself to learn some other things across the world. We don't always have to go to class to get knowledge, right?
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
where something comes into the conflict over knowledge and power. When you believe that knowledge only comes from class, you deny yourself the power of knowledge itself. So back to you, Rahila. How will someone, start or acknowledge the power of loving themselves in which will repulse into getting back the power to themselves as well, to use it to create a difference across the world?
Yes. Thank you, John Gora, for sharing that. What you said is very, very powerful as well. Everything starts with self. So we said, um, sit down, and even if you just think about it, if you don't write it down, instead of thinking nobody loves me, you see, we have a belief system that parents need to be there 24/7. They need to look after us, they need to hug us, they need to do X, Y, and Z, because we've been kind of conditioned to believe that. And then the mind compares, because a child who's an orphan now in a home of comfort will look at another child with all the parents and having the comfort of a home with the parents. The moment there is comparison, there is suffering. So what we did when we did outreach work in the rural areas, where we worked with children who abandoned children, whose parents died from HIV and AIDS, for example, we began teaching them how to love themselves. That there is a reason why you are not meant to have children. I mean, sorry, not children, not to have parents. And of course, vice versa, why some parents don't have children. There's a greater reason for that. And when we open into that, that the only person or thing we need is this higher frequency energy called God, or the infinite intelligence. And when we totally surrender to that infinite intelligence, which is the unseen realms and world, whatever you want, you will have. You will find the parents because you're looking for parents. And what happens? You will find it in the home of comfort, or somebody may adopt you, or you will find adults who will show up, will become the surrogate parents to you. So a community becomes a parent to the child, not their biological parents. So when we start seeing different perspectives, like I work so often with parents who cannot conceive or have children, maybe for them, they already, the mind, the God wants for them a gift of looking after other people's children. So you are a parent anyway. Some people decide on their own that they will not have children. And I know going forward with the new generation, even in my family, lots of young people have made a decision that they will not have children, because they will look after humanity as children. So they don't want by their own choice to have biological children, because there's so many other children that are there that they could serve and love, and serve humanity and a better planet. So their way of giving is in that way. But
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you're not awakened and you're unaware? You'll make up the story that you are barren, you are not good enough. Women berate themselves terribly when they can't conceive, but they don't
Mm-hmm.
see a bigger picture of why that is not supposed to be their soul journey. And you
Mm-hmm.
see, the human experience and soul journey are two different things. The soul is something that you learn, valuable lessons where you awaken to your higher self. The human experience is when you're in a total robotic state, as though you're in a state of hypnosis, you carry on, and there's no meaning to life. You're merely just existing and carrying on. So we always have choice. And when hardship comes in the human experience, the universe is giving you a kick up your butt to wake up, excuse me, to see the bigger picture. And some people don't get it. Like some people will often have accidents and end up in hospital. At a deeper level, the belief system is the one people around them. So the accidents they create will get them many visitors and they feel loved and nurtured in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes a game you play. And people eventually get tired of coming to see you and say, "What's going on with you? What's wrong?
Yeah.
What is this with all the accidents? And we're
Mm-hmm.
always meeting you in hospital. Can't we meet you in a better space?" And then the person wakes up. So then the consciousness of accidents fall by the wayside. So these are the patterns we must awaken to. So coming back to being poor and struggle, if you are saying that story and creating that story 24/7, I'm poor, oh, we don't have rain, we have drought in my country or where I live, and it's so ugly and we're starving. If you keep saying that and you remain there, that will be the story of your life. You will eventually die in that space. But watch when you shift the story and say, "You know what? I'm so grateful for being alive. Yes, we are going through all of this. I acknowledge it, but actually, I don't want that movie anymore. I don't want that to be the story of my life. Dear God, there's infinite intelligence. I'm rewriting my DVD of the story of my life. I want to be in a place where there's rain and there's balance and there's food and there's a higher consciousness." And that's exactly how God will work in your favor and take you out of there and put you somewhere else. But for as long as you don't believe there is a better life, you'll continue living that old life. So we got to keep creating new DVDs of our lives, of how we want it to be.
I
And
think
that's what you will get.
I think that's a very important part you've touched, Rahila, that I would like also to give a push or give a word. And especially this goes to my African brothers. You know, Rahila, for a decade or many decades, we have been talking about poverty in Africa, struggles in Africa, and the dark side of Africa. And very few of us can wake up, one day and look at the camera and talk about the light and the better sides of Africa. And giving an example, like, for example, in my country, Kenya, you know, when I was growing up, when I was a little kid in school, in primary school, and partly high school, there was less of corruption being talked about in my country. And during that time, corruption was not something so big because nobody talked about it. And it was there, yes, but it wasn't a bigger thing that you could see everywhere. But in the recent past, until today, as we speak, corruption has become a very big thing that can be talked even by a small kid. They know what corruption is all about. And the reason, just like you put it, is like we are always complaining and talking about corruption. This country is corrupt, the police are corrupt, even ourselves we are corrupt. We are giving bribes to the police, we give bribes to get some permits and all that. Until now, it is now pulling the economy down because each and every topic or talk of the day is corruption. And we are not talking about the developments that are happening. We are not talking about the good things that are happening in this country. All our mindset and all our, talks are about corruption. Even when the government secures a loan, people don't see what the loan will do. They will see how that loan will be misused. And eventually, that is what will happen, Rahila.
Yeah. So that is the sorry state of South Africa at the moment. I hear you. And, the only thing we can do is pray for a better South Africa. For those who are involved in bribery, corruption, fraud, manipulation, violence, all of that, they need to understand that these are all learnt behaviors coming from the past, of past generations who might have done that. And you learn that some way it's in your genes, in your genetics. And therefore, cleaning out that hard drive is a personal choice.
Mm-hmm.
And for as long as they engage in that way and they don't understand the generational sin, that by doing this, they're creating in their families future generations who will be exactly like that, or they will attract people who will do that to them.
Mm-hmm. That's
It's
powerful.
like, it is because, I did this work as a rehabilitation program at Correctional Services in Durban, near where I lived, at a correctional facility in Westville for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked with hardened criminals and people who were involved in murder, drugs, rape, um, whatever, sexual abuse, whatever it is. And what we found was a generational pattern where a 25-year-old murdered his mum. And when I unpacked all of it going into the restorative justice program, what we uncovered was through his sessions with me that we uncovered his family, including his mum, going 2 or 3 generations back,
Mm-hmm.
resolved family issues with guns and knives
Mm-hmm.
to a point where his own mum lost her life because he stabbed her to death. So it was hardcore really, where in the restorative justice programs, his mom's family had to come in order to forgive him so he could be released after, serving his time.
Mm-hmm.
So these are the patterns that we uncovered as practitioners in working with crime. So whatever goes around comes around. It's a boomerang effect.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm putting out bribery, corruption, violence, murder, or ill thoughts to somebody else, it's going to come back, boom, and hit me in the face. When you're not looking, the universe will kick your butt. So you cannot escape the universal laws of nature. It will come back to bite you in the bum, as it were.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why awareness in emotional intelligence, self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. It's key. My awareness of what I'm thinking and who I am, and the awareness of other people's emotions and where they are. So you learn how to come back to your own vortex of energy and keep there, keeping it pure and pristine, clean. And the higher your vibration and frequency is, the more I will attract people like John Gora and others. I'm seeing even via technology how I'm meeting the most amazing people who resonate the same higher energy frequency as Rahila. And I know that and I trust that. I met you and I met others. So this is the game we play. The game changer is my energy frequency will match that of God in the universe. It's congruent to that. Therefore, in my life, I will not attract violence. I will not attract negativity. I won't attract business transactions that are tainted. I won't engage in blood money. I won't engage in money coming through ill means because I'm in awareness of the consequences of it. I want to die a rich someone. I want to die rich and enriched in my divine source energy and the legacy I leave behind for my family and for future humanity. For me, that is my mission and blueprint. So I pour all my energy into keeping it clean. Can you see that? So each person, when they're ready, will do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's their soul journey, therefore, we cannot change anything or anyone. And I know I can only have total acceptance of who they are and
Mm-hmm.
accept them in totality without judgment, because I'm in peace with everything that's around me. You see that? So that is why my prayer is for inner peace. So no matter what happens around me, I
Mm-hmm.
am in peace. I am in my own matrix, as it were. So everything else that's happening with government and whatever, in my blueprint, I want to have electricity. I want to have water. I want to have the luxuries of life, because
Mm-hmm.
I'll be stupid not to want it. The human experience is all about materialism. You'll be a fool not to want it. You must have
Definitely.
money. You
Definitely.
understand? But what
I
we're
do.
talking about is a balance and integrity with using it well to make a difference
Mm-hmm.
to others. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's only people with money who will make a difference to others.
Definitely.
So because I earn good money, I can make a difference to others. So I can give you my time right now. I'm not earning from it,
Mm-hmm.
as in money, but I
Mm-hmm.
understand that God will give me all the abundance to take care of my needs in giving this
Definitely.
time to you and to humanity for a better planet, in
Definitely.
teaching what I know and sharing with humanity what I know is a gift coming from me through God, that my every need is taken care of. So I'm always rich.
That's the
It's not
beauty.
about money.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what
That
greater gift is there than to give time?
there's nothing bigger than, giving someone your time. And, it's not only your time, but it's your time and your knowledge as well. Because, the pieces of advice that you share here that we get from you are just knowledge that somebody would pay for. I see a lot of courses
Exactly.
around. I see a lot of, books being sold. And what you're sharing with me here today, you could have just decided to write it in a piece of paper and publish a book and start selling it. But you take it upon yourself to give it freely, believing and having that belief that God will give you abundance. And this is what we are missing, and this is where at times also it's connected to giving away your power, because you take your power and you put it in a piece of a book and trust it, and trust so much that when you sell the book, you're going to give your power or your knowledge to other people. Then maybe it doesn't sell out. So where does your power
Yes.
belong? It disappears with that book. It disappears with the papers or the sheets of papers. But then when we start to give it out freely, God creates paths for not just even having the books, but having abundance from nowhere. You just get it coming. And that is the
Yes.
belief and the
Yes.
mindset that we need to have, and start giving away and giving freely, and accept to share whatever we have with others. Rahila.
Yes. You see, something I was sharing with you and even with Anuradha, something we put on from Born from Love, was
Mm-hmm.
doing this collaboration. And somewhere in the world, we do a live presentation, for example. I
Definitely.
don't know how it's going to pan out. And I'd love to do that with you. So, how amazing it would be
Mm-hmm.
if we putting out the intention and creating ripples for better humanity and planet,
Mm-hmm.
that somehow we all meet somewhere in the world and do a live event, that we
Mm-hmm.
send this message live from a live
Mm-hmm.
platform, but it's streamed live throughout the world in
Definitely.
what we share, and using LinkedIn as a platform to do that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that will be a deep prayer for me to do that. I'm hoping to be in London in June this year,
Mm-hmm.
so it'll be awesome, to get people together, to put an event together. I'm happy to come there and share and do whatever. So it'll be
Definitely.
good for people who are available to show up there, and that in a collective consciousness, we can put out these kinds of positive vibes and teachings out there. It's just given free, given from the heart. When we rich, we give freely. And the thing I learned something amazing from a woman called Brandon Bays. She started up the Journey Therapies, and you could Google thejourney.com. And I started my alternate practice in doing NLP work and healing through the journey. And through all the outreach work in South Africa was sponsored by the Journey International Outreach. And something she taught me what stuck. And she said, the thing you need the most, you give away. The thing you need the most, you give away. So I knew from a very young child, I was always hurting. I grew up in a very toxic home. Life was hard, and yet we were very abundant and well provided for. But coming through life, I just wasn't a happy someone. And I went into self-empowerment training and NLP training. And, the journey had catapulted me to where I am today through all the outreach work and using the tools of the journey in transformational work. So, and the other thing she said was the thing you need to teach the most, you learn, or the thing you need to learn the most, you teach.
You teach.
So for me, I needed to learn how to heal my mind, body, and soul. So I teach it because I'm learning it through you and through every client of mine and through all the outreach work from thousands of people whose lives we touched. They taught me how to heal because they my mirror showing me and reflecting back who I am. So sometimes I may get a client who would sit opposite me and say, oh my God, Rahila, I want to be like you. Look at how confident you are and you're so at peace. And I'll say, no, my dear, you don't want to be like me. I'm the most toxic person you can find. Because that is what I'm learning how not to be.
Yes.
So every client pitches up to show me. So I will get somebody with sexual abuse, marital affairs, or somebody whose business is not doing well, somebody who does not have finances. When that person shows up, then I know immediately that's an aspect of self I need healing in. So therefore, I attracted that person. Definitely. It's a reflection of that. And when I dig deep as I'm facilitating them, then I see where my computer hard drive needs to be cleaned out. So none of us perfect. We're still on the path of learning. I learn from unborn babies to 2-year-olds. They teach me. Amazingly, they're so gifted. They teach me. They book their own appointments. A 4-year-old booked her own appointment, So this is the gift I have from the people I serve, whether I give it freely. I've been doing charity work for over 20 years where I gave of myself freely every Wednesday, where we took people from living in slum areas to becoming heroes, graduates at universities, to earning their own properties. And those are my success stories of coming from abject poverty to having everything. So I know that well. I've experienced it with the poorest of the poor in my community and how together as a community we uplifted them. So my way of giving was giving of free therapies and empowerment sessions of entrepreneurship and building them up and finding and how they found their power within by exactly what I'm teaching and what I shared with you today was writing down, clearing that out, rewriting a new movie, rewriting your own DVD of how you want your life to be. So these people came up from squatter camps to getting low-cost government housing to buying their own houses. So that is amazing when we can see that. From having zero to hero, anyone can do it. I've seen it, I've lived it myself, and I've seen it in others through the teaching and the lessons. I also believe, John Gora, that in having this power, you also need to nurture it. And the best way to nurture it is good to have mentors, have good mentors. Your mentor does not mean to be a human being. A mentor could be a book, could be a series of teachings from somebody, whatever it is. And you keep learning and you keep growing in that way. A mentor does not need to be there 24/7. But it's good to have somebody to bat off things, so we grow in that way.
Wonderful, Rahila. Wonderful. And I would really wish to thank you so very much for always creating time for us, Rahila. We learn a lot from you. And, the beauty of this kind of conversation, and the reason why I'm always happy to have you here, is that, I'm always confident that I'm going to speak to a person who knows what exactly I am and the place where I'm coming from. And, it makes me confident when we speak and when I hear your voice calling on to how to get ourselves back on track. And just to summarize all that we've talked about today, and I would also like to report to my audience that this is just the start of this conversation, a weekly conversation that we have agreed to have with Rahila. So if you want to get a mentor, just like Rahila has said, this is the time that you need to, subscribe to this channel so that you can have all these teachings at each and every week as they drop. And as well as Rahila, I'm always, happy to invite people to contact you, Rahila, so that at least they can have the taste of first-hand information, just speaking to you and getting that kind of the power and impact that I got from you to make this great thing that I'm doing today. And I would also like to invite a friend of mine who's called Olande Woodlog. We are speaking yesterday, and I was talking to him about what we are planning to do. And he's a guy who's also doing well, and is an optimistic guy who's looking forward to bring a difference in the world and also back to Kenya. We have been doing some things together as well, and I'm inviting him as well to also look at it and get away on how he can approach Rahila. And I'm sure you're always open to receiving these people and talking to them, Rahila.
Yes, John Gora. The thing is, time is of value as well. I'd love to have one-on-one conversations with lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
People do contact me via direct messaging. However, understand I'm a consultant. I'm helping businesses.
Yes.
I'm in my private practice where I work one-on-one. So my paying clients and the people who pay me come first,
Yes.
Obviously.
Definitely.
And even when I do have time, I would urge people to rather follow my content in like when you do a post or somebody else does a post, and when I'm fully engaging in what you're saying, I think people will learn a lot coming out of the content. Because I take a lot of time and effort in responding to different people's posts. I think like you, I wouldn't just write just anything. I always come from a space of honoring, and that whatever I write will be meaningful, that will create an impact anyway on somebody. I think millions of people have picked up on that in who I am and what I do. And because, as you know, there's not time for hello, how are you, what do you do? I don't have time for that.
Yeah, very true. And I love how you're putting it. I've always gotten a lot of DMs with such kind of hello, how are you? How are you doing today?
And worst
Sometimes
is, what do you
sometimes
do?
I go into asking people, if I am having 3,000 followers, imagine all of them sending me a DM and asking me, hello, how are you? How am I going to be able to reply to them? If you want to approach people, there is always a way on how to send a message. Send a message that will trigger that person's, mind to come back to you, to want to learn more about you, but not telling people, hello, how are you? What do you do? You already you have my profile with you. You've gone through it. You can see my activities. Yet
The
again,
sad
you're
thing
coming
is,
back to
people don't
DM.
read profiles.
They
Yeah, they
don't.
don't read your profile and they connect with you, and then they ask you, what do you do?
What do you
Hello,
do?
read my profile. The other thing I very quickly want to share, it's not in relation to what we spoke about. However, I'd like to say this from a place of respect and honoring that young people and people on LinkedIn, when you are connecting with somebody new like myself, just be aware in how you greet somebody. You do not just say hey to someone, or somebody, can you believe somebody addressed me as hi cutie?
Oh my.
Yeah. And I wrote back to the person and I said, on a professional platform, this is unacceptable.
Definitely.
So it's good that we bring in these things as well, in
Mm.
looking in terms of power and how we use power,
Hmm.
and that we always, come from a place of awareness and respect for the other. Very, very important.
Very important indeed, and Rahila. And I wish to just get the last part of this conversation, Rahila. And I want to thank you so much for giving us this opportunity, and also, taking your time to sit with us and discuss with us the beauty of having your power or securing your power, Rahila. So, back to you. The microphone is back to you, Rahila. I would wish to have your last parting shot, something that you would want to pass across the world before we finish, Rahila?
I actually made a note of a quote to end our podcast. Let me see if
Yes,
I can find it. Where did I write it?
definitely.
At the end of the day, I don't even need to find it, because in closing, what we just spoke about, which was so beautiful, is that the quality of your thoughts,
Hmm.
the quality of your emotions, the quality of your beliefs, I'm talking about the positive ones, will determine the quality of your life and the amount of power you have that you can exert to make it happen for you. So that is very, very important. The quality of your thoughts, your emotions, your new beliefs. When I spoke about creating the new DVD,
Hmm. Yes.
so the more you put positive energy into that, the more you're going to manifest that quality of life that you so want. And the whole conception of your idea then becomes a blueprint for your vision going forward. And you keep building on it and building on it and building on it every single day. So imagine if every day you're having positive thoughts where you're letting go of the negative. Can you imagine each thought you're putting in, how many more ripples it's going to make? And you see how powerful that is. So what happens? Let's look at the analogy of droplets of water, right? So I'm having a
Yes.
positive thought, it's a drop of water. I'm
Hmm.
having a new emotion, it's a drop of water. I'm having a new belief, it's a drop of water. My new action is a drop of water. And what happens if you collect that water in a container? It'll grow bigger and bigger and become a puddle eventually if you put it out. That puddle will slowly become a pond, a lake, and then imagine it then like a river, it will connect and go into the big ocean. Can you
Hmm.
imagine the big splashes you're going to be making? The big wave. You become the big wave after that. A small droplet of water becomes a huge wave in the ocean.
That's
And that
absolutely
is
true.
what I'd like to leave our listeners with today.
So the small droplets of water becomes a bigger ripples inside the ocean, and that is what creates. I was taught in the primary school, I guess, that the ocean is big, but it starts
Yes.
from very small water features that comes into joining each other, and putting that water into a big thing that you can see wherever you are from. So this is One Talk Radio podcast. I was with my friend, a sister, and a great, knowledgeable woman who's doing great things on LinkedIn, and also one on one with business personalities, organizations. If you would wish to have a contact with Rahila, she's always available on LinkedIn, and you can reach to her professionally, so that you can get all these pieces of advice and information that she has for you or for your company. Until next week again, when we shall have the same conversation, my name is John Gora, and thank you so much, Rahila, for coming. Be blessed and do have a wonderful,
Thank
wonderful
you.
day.